What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Legacy Lattes. I am your host, Lefty, and today I have such an incredible guest once again, Ryn Sloane. Ryn, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. How about we start off by just introducing yourself quickly and telling the audience who you are and what you're about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a breast cancer survivor in well, it'll be 6 coming to, towards the end of this year. And now I've basically dedicated my life to empowering breast cancer fighters and survivors to heal their own invisible scars and teach them how they can reclaim their lives, no matter their diagnosis or stage.
Wow. Wow, that is absolutely incredible. And I mean, we hear, more cases of just cancer coming up in people's systems like more and more as the years, go by, and you just start to think like, what the hell is going on? Where is it coming from? But based on, you being a survivor, you're being a survivor yourself, who was Ryn before the diagnosis?
Ryn was a very different person before the diagnosis. I always say that cancer's been my biggest teacher.
Hmm.
And it's not something I would ever wish on anybody, but it teaches you a whole lot if you're available to those lessons. Um, so prior to cancer, ironically, I was diagnosed when I was 38, so I was young. And I didn't fit, as far as I felt at that time, I didn't fit, what cancer looks like, because I
Hmm.
was really young. I had a young little family. I worked out regularly. I ate a plant-based diet. I didn't drink. I didn't do drugs. So I was doing a lot of things right. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, what I came to realize is cancer does not care. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Um, and so prior, I was an artist, and I was pretty quiet, which people find a little shocking now that it's Ryn after cancer. I'm not so quiet anymore. um, I was lost. I
Right.
was kind of a lost soul, and I identified with that my whole life. Kind of feeling like out of place in this world and not really knowing who am I and where's my role here? What am I here to do? I always knew I always could feel inside that there was something that I was meant to do, but I was like on a lifelong mission trying to find it. I had no idea what it was until I had cancer and got through it, and then my mission became very, very clear.
Oh wow. I mean, like, so happy that you get to sit here with me today, and you survived, which is remarkable. And like, what kind of, like, describe kind of what went through your mind when you first got the diagnosis?
Well, I'll paint you the picture because it was probably something a lot of people could relate to. Where I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, and we were there visiting our families. Yeah, we were
Toronto in
there.
the house.
Yeah, we were there visiting our families, and for some weird reason, I decided when I was having my shower, I just did a self check, and I had never done that in my whole life. So, like, you know, it was just kind of weird. And I found a lump, and it was an oh shit moment. Like, I just knew. I instantly had that sinking feeling. And, when you just know, it was one of those. Um, so now I'm trying to have a vacation, seeing my family and have a good time. And I'm in my head the whole time because I couldn't tell anybody because it wasn't confirmed. So I didn't want anybody to be worried until I had some facts.
Right.
So the way that all went down is when we came back to Maryland, where we live now. I think it was like a 6-week window between me making a phone call to an OBGYN, she deciding that, yes, this is something of concern, sending me for all kinds of tests. That was like one of the worst parts, was all the testing. So like 6 weeks from diagnosis to double mastectomy. It was like insanity how fast it was. Like, I'm so grateful it was so fast, but I describe it like being inside of a tornado, and like you're inside the tornado and everything around you is flying around, like your life, everything is up in the air and you're just trying to hang on for dear life, your life. Um, that was the scenario, and I really learned the value of life because
Mhm.
I'm 38 years old and I'm facing my mortality. It's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, wow. I don't even know what that would feel like. And I'm sure that, uh, to anybody, like you never wish that upon anybody, right? And
Right.
it's yeah, it's ooh, you couldn't have said it better yourself. It's a tough pill to swallow, and we actually lost my father-in-law a couple months ago to stomach cancer. So that was a pretty tough moment, and we're still dealing with that. So um you know you went through that treatment process and whatnot. What did you like, what were the toughest challenges you had when going through that treatment process, and who was there to kind of support you and help you through that time?
Well, first of all, I'm sorry about your father-in-law. That
Thank
it's
you.
yeah, it's always so difficult. In the beginning, I distinctly remember one of the hardest things I had to do was walk through the clinic glass doors that said cancer clinic, because I knew as soon as I opened that door, and that was a moment I was alone. As soon as I opened that door, I knew taking that step into that space meant I was a cancer patient.
Yeah.
And that messed me up for a minute. So when I walked into that space to, start making appointments and things like that, the initial reaction was, why me? Why is this happening? What did I do to deserve this? And I mean, that's so victim-y, right?
Right.
It's a natural reaction. But then I said to myself, fuck that. Like, no, I am not playing this game. Like, I will go down fighting to the last second. Like, bring it, because I'm not a victim. So I decided, like, I'm not playing the victim card. That doesn't serve me. Thank
Hmm.
God I did that. Um, so you asked about treatment and what it was like to go through all that.
Yeah,
Um,
like, did you have a challenging moment during that time?
yeah, my story was a little bit different. I was very fortunate that I was diagnosed at stage 1.
Okay.
Um, It was very fast, very confusing. Cancer is a whole other language, and you've got all of a sudden this team of people that are responsible for you in your life, essentially speaking to you in a language you don't understand. And you're not really able to absorb anything in the beginning because you're in this moment of shock. Like, it's not real until it's real, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I actually learned from cancer in my whole experience how to advocate, because one of the doctors, the oncologist that was kind of assigned to me, her and I did not get along well at all. She decided to use fear against me to make me, do treatments and things like that that I didn't feel comfortable with. And when I would ask questions, I was told not to ask questions because she was the doctor. And
Oh.
that just didn't sit with me, because it's like, listen, lady, this is my life. I'm asking questions. And if you're not willing to answer, you're not my doctor.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's really important to share that. And I always do, because just because you're assigned a doctor does not mean that's the right doctor for you if you don't feel comfortable with them.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, yeah, so treatment for me was a little bit different because I actually opted out of chemo once I did my own due diligence, and I was not a candidate for radiation because I was stage 1. So in those ways, I was very fortunate. I had a double mastectomy, and the plan was to have what they call stage 1, like basically one and done surgery, where they would take out all the tissue and go in immediately and put implants in, sew you up, and that's it.
Okay.
And I woke up in the hospital and my surgeon came to see me. She said everything that she was responsible for went really well. And then I saw my reconstructive surgeon, who I adore. And he came in and he said, Ryn, I'm sorry, the surgery didn't go as we planned, and I had to put expanders in because your body wouldn't accept the implants. So expanders are like these really, picture a flat balloon, but it's made out of hard plastic. Okay.
Okay.
So what happens is they put these hard plastic expanders inside your body. And once you've recovered a certain amount of time from that surgery, then you go to get these fills, and they fill these things with saline. So it's essentially stretching back out your chest, right? It's
Yeah.
it's painful. And so I actually high-fived him because I was like, huh, that means like I have a little more say as to like the implants and size and whatever. And I'm a smart ass and I was high out of my head at that time. um, so what ended up happening is, it's interesting. They don't tell you much about surgery and recovery and what to expect. And I was in the hospital for 3 days. And on day 3, I was in the bed. I hadn't gotten out of the bed. The nurse comes to my room with a walker that you would see for like an 80-year-old person, right?
Okay.
And me being a smartass, I looked at her and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I think you might have the wrong room." And she smiled and she said, "No, I have the right room. This is for you." And I looked at her and I was totally confused. She goes, "We need you to walk down the hall because once you do that, we can discharge you and you can go home." And I'm like, "Lady, that's awesome, but I didn't have leg surgery or anything like that." Like, okay. So I'm thinking, all right, like, I don't know what's happening, but let's go with it. And I
Yeah.
tried to sit up. And that's when my reality hit. Reality had not hit until that point. I realized I couldn't sit up.
Oh, wow.
I had zero strength. So going back, when I was diagnosed, I was working out regularly. It was the strongest I'd ever been. And I'm a little person. I'm 5 foot. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, my personality, I think, is bigger than my physical.
Right.
um, anyway, I distinctly remember her putting her arm behind my back and using all of her force to get me to sit in an upright position. And I had to turn my body so my legs were hanging over the bed. And the walker was waiting for me right there. And I was like, what is going on? And then I slid off the bed and the walker caught me because my legs wouldn't work.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was like, what's happening? I like kind of freaked out in my mind a little bit because it's like I had surgery on my chest. Like, why aren't my legs responding? I didn't understand.
Right.
So I was keeled over. I couldn't stand up straight. And walking out of my room and down the hall would take any normal person, I don't know, 90 seconds, something like that. 2 minutes, absolute tops, there and back. It took me 15 to 20 minutes, and my husband had to watch. He couldn't help me because the rules were I need to do it on my own in order to be discharged. That was one of the most devastating moments I've ever experienced in my life, and difficult. And it was a matter of having like a drill sergeant basically getting that voice in my head to get my feet to move. Like, let's fucking go. We're getting out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of the most devastating things. And then shortly after the surgery and going home, I was hunched over. I felt like an 80-year-old. I couldn't like straighten out my back for probably almost 5, 6 weeks, something like that.
Wow.
It was really weird. They don't tell you any of this stuff. Um, yeah, it was weird. And I just remember feeling trapped inside of my chest, like kind of stuck in a metal corset, and I wanted out and I couldn't get out.
Oh my god. Wow,
It's a lot.
that sounds devastating.
It
That
is devastating. And the truth of the matter, Lefty, is that when we're going through this and preparing for surgery and they say to you, it's a mastectomy, we're going to have you do and whatever, whatever. The truth is, it's a mastectomy is an amputation. So when we speak about it in those terms, everything makes a lot more sense. My legs weren't working because my body was in full shock because I just lost 2 body parts,
right.
right? I was feeling trapped inside my body because like I was completely numb, but I was black and blue and purple, and still my body going through all this shock. Like, there's all these things going on that make a lot of sense when you use the actual word versus like the medical term.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's important to raise that kind of awareness because people really don't get it.
Yeah. Wow. I
It's
mean,
scary.
I would have never known. I would have never known
Right.
that. There was that much involvement in what sounds like a typical everyday type surgery from surface level, right?
Right.
Uh, that's insane. So I mean, there must have been a specific moment that was crucial for your emotional healing.
Mhm.
When like when did that start happening to kind of get your psyche back to what it was?
Once I snapped myself out of that initial victim mode and decided I'm giving it all because I've got a 5-year-old little boy. He needs me. And I'm not ready to go.
Mhm.
Once I got myself in that mindset, going back to who I was pre-cancer, I was an artist, right?
Yeah.
And so leading up to breast cancer, when I was pregnant, I had a really tough pregnancy. In and out of the hospital a lot. I weighed less in my first trimester than I did when I wasn't pregnant. Like, I had some stuff to go through. And then after my pregnancy, he was an emergency birth. He was early. I had another 4 surgeries back to back after that. So a surgery every year. And then I had like not even, I had a very short break between those surgeries, and then breast cancer happened. And going through all that, um, I had learned prior, about keeping a journal, but not a Dear Diary journal, a journal where I have different forms of expression that I use, different ways that I get my emotions out, different ways that I process what I'm dealing with. It's not a dumping ground.
Yeah.
It's really just a way to capture what's happening in that chapter of my life at that time. And those journals and knowing how to do all that is what got me through all those situations and surgeries and challenges. And that's when I realized when I finished my treatment, I didn't know at this time until later once I came into mentoring and stuff like that. The fact is, for breast cancer specifically, 80%, I'm going to say women because it's 98% women who are affected
Sure.
by it.
Yeah.
80% of women who get diagnosed with breast cancer experience PTSD. And that's like unreal.
Yeah. It's a big
And
number.
yeah, and the reason they do and I was fortunate enough not to have is because we aren't providing the proper care and healing portion that's necessary. So they're going through their treatments and stuff, and at the end of treatment, this happened to me too. They go, "Hey, you're done. You're finished treatment. Go ring the bell. Oh, it's all great and everything." Well, your medical team disappears. And your friends and family, they're like, "Yeah, you made it. Like, you look great. You're great. Like, awesome. Let's get back to life." But for the person who just went through cancer, it doesn't work that way. And
Hmm.
so they're kind of left in the dark, like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And they don't have the tools to process, and they're not provided these tools either because, unfortunately, the medical side of that, they've completed their job. They gave you the treatment, they gave you the surgeries, they did those things. What they don't see is that there is a healing part to that treatment plan that's not there. And that's what I do. That's what I realized was missing.
Wow. Wow. Well, that is amazing. I'm sure you can go much deeper in detail, but as everybody already knows, because we are 6 episodes in, um, or is it five? We are 5 episodes in. I thought we were 6 episodes in. Well, the whole point of Legacy Lattes is to be a community driven uh, video cast and live stream where if you guys want to see the entirety of Ryn's story come to life, all you got to do is hit that super thanks below and donate towards this story because I am sure just the same way as the doctors and the medical facilities tell you the surface level information, I'm sure we just got the surface level here as well. And there's so much more to dive into this story. And I personally would love and be honored to tell the entire story. So, guys, you know what to do. Ryn, thank you so much for your
Yeah.
time and being a part of Legacy Lattes. And we'll see you on the next episode. Peace out.
Thank you.